welcome everybody. This is the Beer Guys Radio Show. Hope you're doing well. We're happy to have you here with us. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how is it going?
It's going. It's another one of those weeks where I'm like, I'm tired, but I'm here. Like mentally fatigued. My work has taken a turn, and it's gotten a lot more complicated and a lot more involved, and it's involved quite a bit more. The information I need for what I'm doing right now is like drinking from a fire hose. So I do. That's
fun.
Yeah, that's fun. It's not. This is not a forever situation, but there's going to be a few weeks of me being mentally spent. But how are you doing, Tim?
I'm fine, man. I'm fine. That's actually pretty good. I mean, things have been cranking along this week. That I did at work's been going good. So we have a quota per month, the number of deals we're supposed to make, dollars we're supposed to make. And I had kind of a dry month, but I've closed 3 deals this week. So, it waited to the last of the month, kept me working the whole month, but came together. So it's always good. Hit those KPIs, Brian. It's important.
What is important. KPI again? I always forget. I hear that.
Key performance indicator.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Your what do they call it? It's your goals, So it's the tech speak. I forget. Oh man, I wish I could remember the word. I don't personally use it, but it's very popular with people that do project management and like scheduling, project management, executive level stuff. Instead of saying I can catch a few minutes here or hey, I've got some time here, there's a word now that they use for that, and I've caught people using that in just conversation. But I forget. I'm sure if we got any project managers watching us right now and you know what the heck I'm talking about,
they're on the same.
Let us know.
Tim. They'll circle back. They'll circle back later, but they are definitely on the same page with you.
We'll circle back, see what kind of synergies we have here. Right. So, make the final.
They'll probably lean in while they're discussing it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. There's really no other way to do it.
Yeah, that's important, crucial. I'd say.
Yeah.
I hate this.
How are your KPIs doing?
Great. Last time we had a performance check-in, I was excellent down the entire board. So my KPIs at work are going great.
Good, man. Good.
Except at the time of this recording, I am going to Charlotte for the 3rd time in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So
work stuff in Charlotte.
Yeah, work-related stuff. Out to Charlotte from Atlanta and back same day. No big deal.
That's always fun.
He's bringing back a big load of weed water. So,
Hey, I'm just Atlanta's drug dealer. Don't quote me on that, please.
Start pushing.
Man, you like to start some wars there, saying that. Someone would be like, "No, he isn't.
No, he is not.
Fun stuff, man. Fun stuff. Well, guys, diving into it, we got some brewery birthdays this week. And a closure of one, I was kind of surprised. I didn't hear about this one, but Terrapin Brewing, our little local joint here, or somewhat local-ish. Do you guys remember when local beer just meant it was like in your state? That was local, like if it was in your state. And so I'm going to take a little segue here a little bit, but I'd say maybe a decade ago, if it was Georgia beer, it was local beer. That was it. It was considered local beer. And there was a lot of discussion, people drink local, all of this. And over in Augusta, Georgia, for those that don't know, is very far over on the east side of Georgia near South Carolina. And there were people there that's like, drink Georgia beer, this and that. There were people there saying, well, there's breweries 20 miles from me in South Carolina that are more local than Georgia beer. I'm like, fair point there. So, and also with the radio show, I was calling, I don't remember if it was Portland or Seattle, but we were looking to set up some breweries there. And I called one that was like 10 or 15 miles from Portland, I think, something like that. And I'm like, hey, wanted to give you a call. We're a beer radio show. We're on one of your local stations there. They're like, where? And I'm like, oh, we're on so-and-so in Portland. They're like, Portland's not local. So at that time, 15 miles was enough that you were no longer local beer because of the way their beer scene was developed. So, so let me ask you this, Nate, I'll ask you first. Today, right now, as the beer scene stands in our state of Georgia, what is local beer to you?
I think it's regional within your state, because there are a number of breweries in Savannah, which roughly from Atlanta, Savannah is about a 3.5 hour drive. I think that because you have to pass by so many breweries just to get to Savannah. I consider like stuff in Atlanta or even stuff just outside of Atlanta to be considered more local than stuff that is in a different region of the state for me.
Okay, fair enough. Brian, how about you? What is local beer to you?
I would say anything in the greater Atlanta area I consider basically local. I think that Savannah is far enough away that and it's so uncommon for us to see a lot of their stuff make it over here. I no longer really think of them as being exactly local, though they are Georgia beer, and I'm always interested in seeing that. But yeah, anything in the greater Atlanta area, generally speaking, it qualifies. There's stuff in the outskirts that like it's just too far away, it doesn't make the rounds, and it's just like it's not local. If I can't easily get it in my area, it's probably not local in my opinion.
Okay,
so
fair enough. Gotcha.
What about you, Tim?
I kind of consider Atlanta Metro, and I'm outside of the Atlanta Metro, but if you're in the Atlanta Metro, I still think that's local beer, with the caveat that I extend the courtesy to the state of Georgia. I take pride in our state and the beer that we do. I love all beer, drink it from all over the place, but I do still like the home team, and probably because we do know most of the brewers across the whole state, or we did. Things have changed in the last few years, but it's a pretty tight knit brew scene. I want to see everybody do well, not just outside of that, but if someone was to say, if I was off somewhere else and and I'm like, I'm from Atlanta area, they're like, I had some really good Georgia beer the other day. I had something from Two Tides. I'm like, oh yeah, they're a good local brewery. Even though Two Tides is in Savannah, which is what, 4 to 6 hours from us. So
yeah, about 4
feels like
probably.
Technically, Birmingham, Alabama beer would be more local than
that's
Savannah.
A good point.
So, right. But anyhow, so that's kind of my thing. I'm a bit flexible with it.
Where's Wild Leap at? Before they opened up their location,
so they were in
LaGrange.
LaGrange was their first one. Yeah,
they were so widely available here and I did occasionally look good hour plus out of town heading south, but yeah, I saw their stuff so often and had it so often, I would have considered them local beer. But like in the case of Two Tides, we'd get a drop occasion. I'm like, ooh, Two Tides, we don't get them around here very often. So I would generally get those if they were fresh, because that was exciting, and they didn't feel local. Like it's just like we get the random drop. It's like getting something from Old Nation that just randomly shows up. I'm like, oh, Old Nation, cool,
And see, one thing with Wild Leap is they did that Atlanta connection. The guys were from Red Brick, Atlanta Brewing Company, Red Brick. So they really treated Atlanta like their local market too. So, there was a lot of stuff here, a lot of beer came here, but that's another thing, just the way people perceive local. I remember when we went down, that way, Macon, LaGrange, all of that. And I'm probably going to say it wrong here again and ruffle some feathers, but I made a comment about being down in South Georgia. They're like, that's not South Georgia. That's Middle Georgia. I'm like, sorry. So everybody, just depending on where you are, like when we leave the city, if I'm talking to someone in Atlanta and they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm OTP. I'm in Woodstock outside the perimeter. But if I'm in any other state, where are you from? I'm from Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's easy. Anyhow, yeah. So a little sidebar there, but the point that I was starting with here are brewery birthdays and beer birthdays. Terrapin Brewery, happy 23rd to you. April 2002 they opened up, and Pliny the Younger, the beer, is 20 years old. April 28th, 2005. So Pliny the Younger has been around 20 years now. So
have you guys had impressive. That? I was thinking
I haven't had the Younger. I have not had the Younger.
Yeah.
I was thinking I had, but then I realized I'm pretty sure what I had was actually Pliny for President that somebody brought around. Yeah. So I don't think I've ever had the Younger. So in its 20 years of existence at this point in time, I've never yet had it. It's not like it's an easy local place to drop by and visit. And even if it were local, you'd have to wait in line for a while, I guess, to try it out. So
yeah, the last time I was out in San Diego, I was hopeful, but it was not, the timing wasn't right, because it does show up on taps there. I had a coworker text me one time. She likes beer, but it's not like into beer. But she's like, hey, we're out of the bar and they've got a really special Russian River beer here. They told us it's really hard to get. I'm like, are you having Pliny the Younger? She's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. So,
does that kind of make your blood boil a little bit? It's like, oh yeah, I'm just having Pliny the Younger. You ever heard of it? I'm like, how are you having it? And
that's
never.
Right.
Anyway,
California, man, out there in California. But some news.
I guess other places they're around. I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't Colorado? Didn't they get a little drop of it occasionally too?
So
on tap?
I don't know how often they get it, but I know when Great American Beer Festival was going on that there would be drops there, because I had Pliny the Younger on draft. Excuse me, Pliny the Elder on draft there back when Fallen Rock Tap House was open. I had it on draft there. Every other time I've had it, it's been out of a bottle. So getting super fresh Pliny on tap, that was pretty nice, man. And that's coming from not a big IPA fan. It's still an impressive beer. And Tyler, to answer your question, we are live. This is not a recorded show. We got a little bit of a late start because I had some technical difficulties. So we were a couple minutes late on our live stream here, but we are here live and doing it live. Absolutely. But Brian, some info we just heard really just a few minutes ago, Duck Rabbit Brewing. And for those that don't know Duck Rabbit, I know they were pretty popular, at least in the Southeast East. And they got a milk stout that was very popular. They had a Baltic porter that was really popular. And many years ago, they had a moment, I guess I'd say.
Yes.
When they were, and again, y'all, talking about like going back and what's local, what's not local. We just didn't have a ton of breweries over here a decade ago or, 15 years ago, especially 20 years ago. So, anything that was good, it made it around, and that was one. But anyhow, they announced they're closed. They have closed. They were open a little over 20 years. They were a North Carolina-based brewery. First beer they sold, Brian, August 2004. And according to their website, they were their main focus was dark beers. But it looks like maybe that wasn't updated in a while. I know that's what I knew them for, was their dark beers.
Yeah, they definitely introduced me to the Baltic Porter. It took me a second there, but I'd never even heard of the style before. I remember getting that, and I want to say their heyday for us here in Atlanta, where they were everywhere, and they were something I was checking out, and they even had reps doing events in different venues. About 2012, I want to say, maybe 11.
2012,
about 12, there. Because for a while I had these old bottles of Baltic Porter when I was hoarding things, and it was going back to that point. But that was a great beer. I'd never heard of the style before. I didn't know anything about it. I had never brewed a beer before, so it was still very, very new to me. It was all very exciting, and it was like, man, this is a great beer. I had no idea what on earth it was, but I loved it. So
we even had a brewer come here, and at the time we were excited. Someone he's from Duck Rabbit. So shout out to Baron Sluter, who was at Duck Rabbit. And I think Baron's actually been out of the brewing industry for many years now. I think he went military. Yeah. So anyhow, cheers, Baron. Cheers, man. So guys, how about we talk about our beers of the week? Brian Hewitt, what are you drinking?
So I started off, I pre-gamed with Scofflaw's Nice Lager, which I believe is something that Mo Mike Nate gave me from back in the time when he was working briefly with them, doing stuff. But it's just an easy drinking American lager. I liked it. It was actually pretty good. I don't understand why the can says no such thing on it. So it's Nice Lager, and then on the underneath it says no such thing. So I don't know what the joke is there, but that seems like a very scofflaw thing. But, for a brewery that's known for their IPAs, that was a pretty solid lager. I enjoyed it. But I have moved on to a beer that I don't often get. Like, I'll miss it most years. But Lagunitas is the Waldo's Special Ale, which is a very dank triple IPA. So I decided to drink that during the show. And then later on, I will unwind a bit with Sweetwater's Exodus Porter, which is an award-winning fan favorite, on again, off again coffee porter. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's my last can of it. I'm wondering if it's still out there, if it's off again. I'm not 100% sure with that. So
you'll find out soon enough, right?
I will.
Do what you can. Do what you can. Nate, what are you drinking today?
So starting off for the day, I've got a collaboration beer from WorldWorks Brewing and Russian River Brewing, which we can't get Russian River in Georgia, so I will take it when I see it. I'm drinking their Convivial, which is a hazy double IPA. It's in my glass right now. This is really tasty. I really enjoy this beer in particular. And then the other day, I was at my local Total Wine and More, and I saw from Wishbrook their key lime pie goza, which I remember back in the day when this was pretty near an allocated beer. Like you almost had to buy flats and cases and cases of Westbrook Goza just to be allowed to buy a case of key lime pie goza. And so seeing it just sitting on the shelf, it's kind of a sign of the times. Beers used to be like this really highly allocated thing, or like this really sought after thing. Think about Founders KBS before it was deemed to be a year-round beer. And so the fact that I saw key lime pie sitting on the shelf, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and buy this. And so that's my second beer for the night.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, I know there's a lot of beers. I mean, not just that one. Another one from Westbrook, Mexican Cake. That used to be one that, you would hope that maybe you'd get lucky and grab a bottle, and now you see it on the shelf, So it's crazy, man. Pure madness. Pure madness.
Yeah, seriously. I think that Westbrook or that Weldworks is called Convivial. I believe that's Convivial. Yes.
I mispronounced it. Thank you.
Just helping you out there.
Convivial. There we go. We did. I knew we could do it. Guys, I have from our friends at Good Word Brewing a pale lager, and I looked up the pronunciation of this, so hopefully I will get it right. It is Czech, and this is a Czech-style lager, Trpělivost, I believe is what the beer is, the way that's pronounced. And that is Czech for patience, is what that is. So, little drinking beer there. Good stuff. Found that stuff in the back of the fridge. It's a little older, and this is on me. I can tell that it's got a little bit of age on it, but again, that's on me because it got stuck in the back of the fridge, and I'm like, oh, let me see. I'm like, this has been chilled, so it'd be good. But it's slightly on the stale side, but still tasty. So I'm going to keep rocking on with it. Well, Brian, in headlines in the news, there's some science in our beer, and all the things smartphones can do. And many people may not even know this. You can make a phone call with a smartphone.
Yes. You know what? People don't realize that the phone part of smartphone actually refers to telephony, which is your voice going over lines to other people. So you can talk to people in real time.
Insanity, man. But more importantly than speaking to other people, scientists are using smartphones to analyze beer.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. They have figured out a way to use smartphones to detect dimethyl sulfide, I think I'm saying that right, aka DMS. You've heard of DMS in beer. Most of the time we talk about DMS as being an off flavor in beer, and it is at high concentrations. It can give you a cooked cabbage aroma in your beer, or I think there's like a canned sweet corn that it can impart in your beer, but at lower concentrations, it's actually a key flavor component that's desirable in some beer styles. I want to say it's some varieties of lager it's particularly desirable in at the right level. But until recently, you needed to have a complicated and expensive gas chromatography analysis done on your beer to see where your levels were at if you were trying to dial them in. But scientists have found that image analysis done on smartphone pictures of your beer can produce results that are very similar to gas chromatography. They're calling it smartphone-based colorimetry. Yeah. But before you grab your phone and start taking pictures of your beer, other than, for like Untapped or whatever, there is a little bit more to it. You need to create first a quote, paper-based analytic device, aka a pad, using a special chemical reagent that reacts with DMS. So it's more than just like a beer coaster that you soak in beer. Then apparently you apply your beer to the treated paper and take a picture of it with your phone. The higher the level of the DMS in the beer, the more pink the treated paper will become. And with the help of image analysis, you end up with results that are surprisingly accurate when you compare them to gas chromatography. As to when this technology might become available for brewers and even home brewers to use, it's kind of hard to say. It does sound like it's something that could become very easily affordable for, like a quality control tool that brewers could have in their little labs. They don't have a ton of stuff, a lot of them, but they have some stuff for checking things out. This would be a nice thing to add to it pretty easily. It sounds like really what you need is just the right paper. I'm not sure what paper they used, the right solution, your phone, and maybe a little bit of software to check out the precise coloration of the image, but you might be able to get your reading without using that expensive gas chromatography, and be able to work on dialing in the exact levels of DMS you want in your beers, or even see if you got a problem. That's another thing.
Interesting.
So, yeah, kind of cool.
Yeah, it almost reads like it's a late April Fool's joke. They're like, all right, get you a paper-based analytical device.
I saw that. Yes.
It's like, okay, a sheet of paper. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, are they pulling a fast one on us? What you'll need is a pad.
A pad.
I'm doing air quotes right now. A pad of paper.
Right. Then put this reagent on it, and then dump my beer on the paper. Yeah. Pour beer on the paper, and then take a picture of it.
But it should have horizontal rule. No, not horizontal rules. It should be grid type paper. So it's going to be a special grid paper. I'm kidding. That's not it at all. But yeah, I don't know I don't know exactly what kind of paper.
I'm sure it just, in all honesty, I mean, it's cool that the technical things we're able to do with more simplistic things these days. Having a smartphone that can analyze stuff, pretty impressive. Pretty darn cool stuff.
Kind of what it tells me is that the photography levels of digital photography levels that are embedded in these phones has gotten to a point where it's crazy what you can do. I'm sure we're going to find out other things. I know I think there are apps that you can actually measure your pulse by holding the camera up to your finger or something like that, which is kind of nuts. But
I mean, even my watch has an oxygen meter built in.
Yeah.
So I can see my blood oxygen saturation right here on this. It gives me analytics when I sleep, how many times a minute I took a breath, what my pulse was, and all that. That's strapped to my wrist these days. So
that's like magnets. How do they even work?
How do they work? Nobody knows. And they still haven't figured that out. One day, maybe one day.
I don't know about that.
So question for you, man. Has there ever been anything that was just so common for you that you never thought about the way it happened until one day you did? You're like, oh, I just never really thought of that.
I'm sure there has been, but I'm struggling to come up with an example.
That's fine. Yeah, I get it. Well, that's kind of like me with lime in a Mexican beer. Yeah, I just always known there to be a lime in your Corona or whatever you drink. But you know what? Brian is going to tell us why there's a lime in our Mexican beers.
I was going to ask if you guys had a theory about it, but it sounds like you never even thought about it before. So, no. I mean, that's fair because most people haven't.
We talk with Dr. Keith Villa on the show. And if you're interested, catch the show we did with him. Or if you just want to see this snippet, this is on our YouTube in a little video. And he told us why Blue Moon, Dr. Keith Villa created Blue Moon. He told us the story of why that has a slice of orange with it. But I just never put any thought, Brian, into why there's a lime in my Mexican lager.
Yeah, that is funny that we spent a lot of time thinking about that, but never thought about the obvious other implications.
Because there is, right.
Yeah. So it's, this whole thing is such a widespread thing that Corona uses it in their advertising, and you don't even think about it, just part of their advertising. The article I read claims that the lime is a significant contributing factor to Corona's worldwide commercial success, and I can vouch for it being worldwide because I have had Corona with lime in it in Southeast Asia many times, and we're talking decades ago. So this is a worldwide thing. It's not just a here thing. But if you've wondered, like we are now wondering, why we're putting lime in Mexican lagers, there are theories that exist for the use of lime, and they range from things like it's a disinfectant and has properties, in the lime that will help clean your beer. There's also the idea of the lime being a bug repellent, which I think I've heard before, but it seems odd. Both of these are probably untrue things. The most credible explanation is that it began as a marketing strategy in the 1980s to boost the popularity of Mexican lagers in the U.S. The tartness of the lime is a great complement to the crisp Mexican lager, as we all know, and it can help mask the light-struck skunkiness that is common in beer that is packaged in either clear or light green bottles. So the minute those hit the sunlight, skunkiness is going to arrive. People think it's temperature. It's just the light. It really is just the light. So the origin of the trend is actually debated. The possibilities include California in about 1981 is what some people say, and other people say it's directly from Mexican drinking culture. there are a lot of limes in Mexico, and supposedly the Michelada was created, invented only a few years prior to like the early 80s, late 70s, basically, at a country club in central Mexico.
How that works out.
So it seems likely that if they put that into beer, all the stuff that makes a Michelada, why wouldn't they have tried the other things? Like put a little lime in there. Hey, look at that. That's a good thing too. And it takes a tourist coming in, trying it, taking it home, and like, look what I learned in Mexico. And just like that, it spreads. All their friends do it, and it just takes off. So that's all it takes. Yeah. So that's it. It's probably just marketing, probably.
So you didn't answer the question for us. You just gave us theories, right?
The answer is there's no actual 100% answer, but
I cannot
the thought
put into words how disappointed I am in you right now, Brian.
I'm going to say, and I'm going to blame Chowhound. I got this from them. They are putting forth that they believe it is a marketing thing. It made the beer more palatable due to it covering up the light struck, and it's a compliment. It made it more enjoyable. And there's the whole theatrics of putting the lime in the beer, just like with Blue Moon, putting that slice on there. It's a whole thing. So your deceit knows no bounds, Brian. Yes, I know.
So I'd actually heard, and again, sometimes the way you hear things is it's just, I don't know where I heard it or how I heard it, but I heard the thing about the light strike, because they came in clear bottles, that there was a slight light struck to them because they don't have a ton of hops. So it's not going to get horribly bad, but that, with that little light struck, that at some point someone put a lime in there and help to tone that down a little bit. But you got to admit, look, I will say this, Brian, and I know you concur with me because we've enjoyed them together before. On a hot day, there is something about a Corona with a lime wedge.
It's great.
They are, you get it down in there. Yeah, I'm not sitting there sipping and savoring it, but give it to me ice cold with a lime wedge, and I'm down. Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
Now that I think about it, I seem to remember, and this may have been another thing I saw is like some people say it was like people used it to clean the rust off from the cap on the bottle. I remember actually way back in the day, people using the lime to actually go around the rim of the bottle or whatever. I don't know if they put it in, but they would do that as a way of actually kind of cleaning the top of it off. So it's like an acidic compound that get whatever's on there. I know people did that. I don't think that they were accomplishing much with it, but I think I do remember people actually doing that.
I never thought that to be cleaning it as much as just putting some lime, like rimming your glass with lime and then some salt or what have you. Mm-hmm. I thought they did it more just to get some lime flavor there, because maybe. I also know that people have told me, and this may vary from bar to bar or time period to time period, but a lot of people, the method, you squeeze the lime, wedge it down through the neck into the bottle, put your thumb over the top, and then invert the bottle until the lime raises up.
It floats up in the top.
And I did have a bartender tell me one time, they're like, don't do that at a bar. Don't do that at a bar, because the bar limes are not cleaned that well. You don't want to go do that. So Nate, you've bar backed before in that. Do they, do bars, are they better about cleaning those limes up? Because I was told they're essentially meant as like a garnish or something, and they just didn't put effort into cleaning them. Or any bartenders that are listening, let us know. Do you clean those limes? Am I safe wedging it into my bottle and then consuming it?
I probably wouldn't do it at a dive bar, but I worked at a cocktail bar as a bar back, and we definitely cleaned our citrus before we prepared it for service.
All right. May have been where I was at the time. I think the whole town I lived in was probably best not to put anything in that town in your mouth, to be quite honest.
I mean, if you're coming in town and you're going to Northside Tavern, which is a dive bar in Atlanta, I would not be shoving that into your bottle.
Please note that Nate just used Northside as an example. And if anyone from Northside hears it, we're not.
That's Nate. That we're not behind that. That's just Nate. He's talking out of school here. You guys
drive the bus by. We'll be more than happy to chuck him under it.
That's right.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
I was expecting to hear that Nate was using it as like the lime as a deodorant. If he's, came in hungover. He was just taking the limes and rubbing them under his pits and then just putting them back at the bar. Yeah.
Acidic cleaning there.
Yeah. Just cleaning it up, freshening up a little bit. No big deal. It's like, just going to alcohol. No big deal.
That's weird. Brian. All right. Well, we've gone off the rails. Moving right along here, Brian, we hear all kinds of things about the younger generation's drinking habits. And I think most things tend to lean towards their ruining drinking.
Usually,
yes. Millennials, Gen Z, whoever they happen to be putting it on now. But I guess some new studies say that we may have some misunderstandings about some of that.
Yeah, so for a while we've been hearing that Gen Z is drinking less because they are concerned, more concerned about health and wellness than previous generations. Also that they can't handle how alcohol and carbonation stings their tiny, tender tongues. But a beverage analyst from Rabobank says that this narrative may be greatly exaggerated. I don't think he's talking about the tongue part. That was just my observation. But to begin with, they predict, based upon what they've been able to evaluate, that Gen Z's alcohol consumption will increase significantly as they age, with the expectation that by the time they reach their mid-30s, they will be much closer to previous generations' consumption levels. Recently, the Bureau of Labor Statistics put out a spending breakdown by generation, and they found that Gen Z spent 83% less than millennials. And I think that's driving a lot of this perception. But here's the problem. That stat apparently includes all of Gen Z, not just legal drinking age adults. So a significant percentage of Gen Z can't even legally buy alcohol right now. So of course the percentage is going to be considerably higher. Additionally, statistics that break sales down by generational households is also skewed. Less than half of Gen Z consumers have established an independent household. Not to mention that many legal drinking age Gen Z consumers are just starting out in the workforce, and they simply don't have the discretionary funds to spend much on alcohol, much less, set up a household, that sort of thing. Which is not to say that they have it worse than we did. This was also a problem for every prior generation at this point in their lives. In fact, I remember people talking about this kind of thing, shortly after I came out of college. In reality, Tim, you're shaking your head. Do you disagree?
So do you ever recall a time when you went without beer when you wanted it?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I never.
So that's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah, we may have been broke, but we always found time to get, it may not be the beer that we wanted, but we could get some beer.
Yeah. I remember at a point in time where, getting some beer meant a 6-pack that a buddy and I shared on a weekend, and that was it.
Eat some ramen noodles, get the beer. Yeah. Okay.
But percentage wise, like in terms of what I was spending, it was a lot less than what I would spend right now.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
Yeah. At this point in time, I have the extra discretionary funds. So like if I want that, expensive, I don't know, lambic or something like that, I'm going to get it. I might not even drink it this weekend, but I'm going to get it. So,
right.
So in reality, Gen Z consumers spend about 0.72% of their after-tax income on alcohol, which is in line with millennials exactly. Millennials also spend about 0.72% of their after-tax income, and the national average is 0.73%. So they're right in line with everybody else. Gen Z consumers spend less of their income on average than baby boomers do. Baby boomers are just killing it in terms of spending. They're at 0.83% of their after-tax income, but they do spend more than Gen X, which is surprising. Apparently, Gen X only spends 0.65% of their after-tax income. So that all said, Gen Z is spending a lower percentage of their income at their youth at this point in time than previous generations did when they were at this point in time in their lives. So there is an interesting theory as to part of what might be contributing to this, why Gen Z is spending less on alcohol. It may have to do with cell phones, interestingly. So another article about smartphones. Cell phone and smartphone ownership increased from 31% in 2011 to 88% in 2021 for those 21 and older. So we're talking like right during the whole Gen Z's, coming up here. This has been linked to decreased in-person socializing, increased parental tracking, and the risk of social media exposure for underage drinking. So that's 3 strikes against going out and having a good time, which is what we used to do without having to worry about everything being recorded. Yeah, so it seems like smartphones were the first Ozempic. What was that, Tim? Sorry.
No, I said that was nice, man. Back in my day, you could go out in the woods somewhere and no one would ever know. No one would ever know. It wasn't going to end up on TikTok or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, looking back at your numbers, it tracks, or it makes sense to me if I do a little thinking here. The younger generations probably, of course, don't have as much income. And Gen X, most of us are still in the prime of our careers here. And probably we've worked our way up. We're making a fairly good living. So the percentage that we spend on alcohol would be lesser. We may be buying more. We're probably not drinking as much as we did in our younger days.
Yeah.
And then the boomers, they probably don't have as much income if they're just living off kind of what they've got there, what they've stockpiled. So it'd be easier to spend a higher percentage of that. And they don't care. They don't got to go to work tomorrow. So they're out there drinking, right, man. So yeah, I could see where these, we do know these guys. They're drinking all over the world. So
that's right. They definitely are. The money that they're not spending on alcohol, they're spending on travel to get the alcohol. So,
right. Yeah. We have a group here. Shout out to the Atlanta area beer elders, which is, I was mildly offended when I was invited to join their Facebook group, but yes. I guess reality is reality there. Yeah. But, these guys just go around having a good time, man, visiting breweries. I know they've done tours to, England, Belgium, Italy, South Africa. They go out there drinking. Just travel and drink, man. Not a bad way to live your retirement years there.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So there are a few other factors that come into play on this before I close out this story. There are demographic shifts in Gen Z. I think that there's a larger Hispanic population than there was. I think there's a larger Asian population, and I think statistically those sections of the demographics drink a little less than the white folks do on average, I guess. I don't recall the exact breakdown of that. There is also an unexplained decline in young male drinking since 2014. But again, I think that's just a matter of like young guys would do a lot of really dumb, stupid things with alcohol if they weren't being recorded. If you're being recorded and you might be called out for it, you're not going to do this stuff. So they may be doing dumb things, but they're not doing anything that's going to get them in trouble with the law. So that could be part of it. Yeah.
All right.
Just realizing that they can't get away with that kind of thing. So let me do something else that's stupid instead.
I'm sorry, Gen Z. I'm sorry that's where the world is today, that you don't get a few years to just be stupid with without it showing up on the internet there. But
they are getting the phones though. So they're bringing it on themselves. Like, you guys don't have to have these phones.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Well, Brian, I don't even want to talk about this next story. So before we get to that, how about you give a shout out to our sponsor?
Yeah. Can you believe we're in May already? I'm going to pretend there isn't a big, drinking holiday happening this weekend when I give you my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week, but I will get to that in just a moment. So first, here are my beer picks. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with New Realm's Tequila Barrel Berliner Weiss, which is an oak-aged imperial sour. Honestly, I'm trying to think of the last time I had a tequila barrel-aged Berliner, or like an imperial Berliner, or anything else like that for that matter. But in this case, imperial means it's a 10% Berliner, which is crazy. Color me intrigued by this imperial sour. It's got a big tequila note to it, which is to be expected. So I'm going to have to get one of those. At the Duluth location, I'm going with Todd Zemry, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I didn't do like Tim did and go research how you say the word, but it's a good word collaboration with Truck and Tap. So yes, I have to try this out. It's a Czech style pale lager, and I think the name is a reference to Goodword's popular Die Todd Die Pilsner. But Google tells me the name means Freeze Todd Freeze, so I'm going to assume this is a super crisp Czech light lager, or pale lager, I guess is the thing. And really, there's only one way to be sure as to why it's called what it is. You have to go get one and drink it and see what you think. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Creature Comforts We Love LA IPA. I do love a beer for a good cause, and this West Coast IPA with Simcoe, Mosaic, Idaho 7, and Sultana goes to benefit the wildfire relief in California. A good beer for a good cause is a win-win, and I'm always going to order one of these whenever I see it. I'm not even sure. I might have recommended this already recently in one of these. But get it. Yeah, it's for a good cause. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going to get the Fat Orange Cat Baby Kitten Strata IPA. I really like seeing Fat Orange Cat beers around here again. It seems like they disappeared from our market for a while. Will they stick around this time? There's no way of telling, but I'm going to enjoy them while they're here. So if you're looking for something to do the day the show airs, I've got good news for you. Truck and Tap is holding a Tres de Mayo party because it's the May 3rd. You get that, it's not Cinco de Mayo. Anyway, that means specials on margaritas, Taco Tuesday lagers, and several variants of something called yacht water. So I'm guessing that's something like ranch water, except more appropriate for the drinking season. So anyway, of course, if you've been checking out the Truck and Tap website, you already know all about this, but if you don't, maybe you should bookmark truckandtap.com and check that out occasionally. Either way, swing by Truck and Tap and get your fiesta on this weekend. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thanks, Truck and Tap. We appreciate it. Brian, this next story is horrid and awful and all of this. And that's awful. All I'm going to say. Tell us about it.
I had to take some beer to clear that out of my anyway. An Austrian company named Uklo, they make eco-friendly toilets. They're creating a lager called Uklo Pilsner, I believe is the pronunciation of it. In case you didn't see this coming, it's a beer that is a Pilsner or something like that, a lager made from human urine. Specifically, the liquid that is collected from mobile toilets that they place at construction sites and festivals. But don't worry, all 6,000 liters of the liquid in question are filtered to remove toxins, leaving nothing behind but pure water. So Tim's shaking his head no at this point. The company insists that the resulting beer will taste like any other lager, with the filtering process removing any offensive taste and or odor and or color, probably. The first batch of 2,500 ml bottles will go on sale this fall. So the beer was meant to be a marketing gag, and gag is probably exactly the right word for this. Apparently, they've been getting hit with a lot of advance orders from around the world, and not only from people that are dressed up in fetish gear. So it's like these are real serious inquiries about buying some. If the beer ends up being as popular as they think it might be, they may end up brewing more of it in the future. So my question is does this beer qualify as the first true crowdsourced beer?
Shame.
You're
even
not allowed back on the show ever.
I am officially kicked off the show.
Thanks for the time you spent with us. We do not need your services any longer.
I wish I would say it was a great time having you here, but after this episode,
it's been horrible. It's been awful.
Been terrible.
Yeah. Brian, would you drink this beer?
Oh, I'd have to see somebody else drink it first. I don't
Why?
know.
Why?
Sure.
Someone else drinks urine and you're like, well, okay then.
The water's filtered, man. Come on.
Well, I want to see Tim drink it first. If Tim, you know what,
you're
Tim
not going
lie
to, because I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go, no, I'm not drinking urine beer.
Yeah.
No.
So this isn't the first time I've seen like wastewater beer, but it's like it's been like gray water. It's never been like this is straight up.
Look,
this. So
I know a lot of stuff happens to our water before it comes out of our taps and before it gets filtered and all that. But they're not telling me, hey, we're just taking a tank of urine from a beer fest and turning it into a beer. You know, like if I watch something's like how your water gets to your tap, I'm like, great. Now I can't ever drink water again. So, but them being
nobody's ever told you what fish do in all that water either, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it. I just, little fish babies come from little fish storks.
That's
and
right.
Little fish cabbage patches. And that's the way that works, man.
Yeah, that is exactly what happens in water. So I'd probably pass on this. I don't know if I could bring myself to do it. It's a cognitive thing that's just too far for me. I know that with filtration and everything else, I'm sure it's just 100% fine.
But no, huh?
Yeah.
Nate, you're a pretty nasty human being. Would you drink it?
Oh, what a compliment. I appreciate you so much. No, I would not.
Okay.
He's the finicky, the most finicky of us. Like, there's no chance. Like,
but that's right. Yeah.
But
fair,
here's the thing. When it comes to liquids, I'm pretty fair game. But the fact that from the get-go, it's advertised as, oh, no, this is refined urine.
Yeah.
Like we joke about like domestic lagers as being like, oh, this beer tastes like urine, it tastes like piss or whatever. I don't need to know that it directly came from that to now it's in my glass and it's cold and it's frothy. Oh, is it frothy because of what it's recycled from? I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
No, I will not try this ever.
Yeah, fair. So our opinion is unanimous on that one. So
yeah, that's a no.
Not going to do that. I mean, again, like we said, I'm sure look, if it wasn't safe to consume, they wouldn't be able to sell it for consumption. That's plain and simple, especially Europe. They'll put all kind of poisons and dyes and stuff in us here in America, but the Europeans are a little tighter about that.
They're pretty uptight about that. Yeah. If there was any thought of it like being possibly bad for you, like that.
Yeah. Like over in Europe, they're like raw milk, cheese, and eggs at room temperature. That's fine. And
that's true. As long as they don't have any special dyes in them. I know that they're about the additives and the dyes. That's right. They do a lot of that stuff. It's an odd dichotomy of like, we're really strict on these things and we're just completely open on these.
I don't think it is though, Brian, because that's natural stuff. I mean, they like if you've ever seen, oh man, Brian, I gotta do a callback to last week's conversation here in a minute. But if you've ever seen a cooking show, like I watch cooking shows, if you see Asian or European ones, the egg yolks are always such bright orange. I mean, it just looks richer. I'm jealous of non-American eggs because we have to pasteurize ours here and keep them in the fridge. But Brian, I saw a YouTube video cooking something, and he's like, dice up your onions, set the heat to medium, throw them in there. He's like, cook them just a little while. I'm like, Brian would lose his mind. Cook them a little while. That was the instructions there.
So thanks for nothing, buddy. Thanks for nothing. Just like you could just tell me cut and cook an onion and like don't show me any of that at all. Like I would get as much from it.
Same thing. Like
you're not adding anything here. I'm aware that like for most things that onion is applied to, you would have to cut that onion and possibly cook it like that. I can handle that. Like
cook for some time.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Captain.
Put over heat somewhere between low and really high. Cook for a while.
He hates you right now.
I'm going to come out with a cookbook that's just apply heat to all of these elements and then mix together.
And put
congratulations,
them together,
you have your thing.
You should develop a cookbook for people like you, Brian, and that these are recipes you can follow, and boom, exact. Here it is, exact. That's it. That's what your mission in life should be, Brian. Is developing recipes for people who need. Because I'm sure you're not the only freaky deaky person in the world that wants those exacting specifications. And if you have no idea what we're talking about, listen to last week's show and you'll get. There
you go. They keep it.
Brian, Aldi. If we all know Aldi, the grocery store, so they have beer. They do sell beer, Brian, but they've got one that's actually went a little bit viral.
Yeah, they got a ton of social media attention on this. The reason is that they are selling a 1.5 liter bottle, which is roughly 50 ounces. All the stories I read about this did the math wrong. It's about 50 ounces, right, Tim?
1.5 liters. So
1.5 liters.
Milliliters. I don't know. Let's see. You know what? I have Google here. So 1.5 liters.
Yes.
To ounces.
It's around 50 ounces, right?
It's 50.7 ounces. Yeah.
Everybody was saying it was like 33 ounces. I'm like, where do you guys? And it was quoted. Like, I know people were just taking.
Well, that would be a liter.
Yeah. But this is 1.5. It's clearly marked in the picture that we have. It's a 1.5.
Which means the source got it wrong. And then everybody that copied them.
Correct.
Pulled it along with them. Okay.
But I take it to the next level and do my own research.
Okay. You redeemed yourself a little bit on that urine thing.
But anyway, so they're selling a 1.5 liter bottle, which is roughly 50 ounces of classic lager beer for a local equivalent of 67 cents. So 1.5 liters for 67 cents.
All right.
And according to reports, that's just the regular price of the beer. No sale, no discount. I don't even know if Aldi does sales and discounts. Maybe they do, but that seems to be just the normal price for it. And if you do the math, that's roughly 4 12-ounce cans, each of them costing about 17 cents a piece, which is just nuts. From the images we've seen, the beer looks like it comes in a bottle similar to your typical 2-liter soda bottle. Obviously, it's short by half a liter, but we all love inexpensive beer. And if this was available at your local Aldi, and I've checked, it's not, at least for me, would you get it? And keep in mind, we're talking about getting beer in basically a 1.5 liter plastic bottle. So would you do it? Would you get it?
Yes, absolutely. I'd have to try it. I'd have to. I'd have to try it, man, for that. So Gen Z, if you're listening, you all need to move to China if you want to do your drinking there, because it's
they could catch up. The problem is,
I'd have to try it to see. I expect it's pretty low ABV. They're probably not using a boatload of grain or anything with it. So is it on the bottle there?
I want to say it. I want to say it is. I want to say it's like 4% or like 4.2% or something.
Well, that's actually a little more than I expected. I kind of thought that it'd be like a table beer kind of thing, 2% or what have you. But anyhow, I assume that they're probably using cheaper grains and that. But
sure.
That's not to say they couldn't make it. We're kind of, Brian, look, we know a good, expensive, nice lambic or goose or stout or anything, but we are not above slumming it for a decent beer every now and then. So I may not be my regular rotation, but I would be curious to try it.
You know what? I just realized that's an Aldi 40, basically. Like, it's not 40, but it's like an Aldi 40.
Aldi 40, man.
Right?
From the picture, if you guys Google Aldi classic lager beer, you can see it looks like a 2 liter.
For sure.
Bottle, like a 2 liter soda bottle.
Exactly. Which
interesting.
I'm not ashamed to say that I would definitely try it. How crazy would it be if it's an absolute banger of a beer too? Like, it's actually really. I don't know this. I've not been able to find anything on Untappd for it yet. But if it actually was just an amazing beer for 67 cents for a liter and a half, that would just be nuts.
Wouldn't that be crazy? It was just like, wow, this is a fan. I mean, kind of like that QT Quitting Time beer. That was solid, man. Like, I didn't have
a really good beer.
I'm like, that's actually a really good beer. So,
yeah.
Interesting. Well, Brian, we have some good news for probably like 40 people across the country. And this was a lot of people talked about it and were disappointed when it went away. Brian, Bapple is coming back.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember, around this time last year, I found something. We were talking about there's an odd cult following Busch Light Apple. That's what Bapple is. Yeah, diehard fans call Busch Light Apple Bapple. It was introduced in as a summer seasonal in 2020. It became a regular release in 2021, and then it was discontinued in 2022 and replaced with Busch Light Peach. And that drove the fans of the beer insane. People were chasing trucks. They were putting up online petitions to bring it back, and they got thousands of signatures. So it's more than 40 people, but it's probably less than 1,000. But anyway, they probably signed a few times. People were selling it for $60 a case online, and other people were driving, like hours to pay $60 to pick up that Bapple. People created Facebook groups and subreddits to talk about the beer. Well, Anheuser-Busch has finally gotten the message, and they have confirmed that Bapple will be back on shelves in May for the first time since 2022. But it's not back permanently. Anheuser-Busch says it'll be around while supplies last, but you should see it in stores all summer long, assuming these people don't all go nuts with buying it. There's another question. I'm like, the obvious question is would you guys buy it? But before I get into that, a story that I didn't realize was a big deal is one of the founders of Apple, who cashed out really early on for like $800, where his shares would be worth billions now. He's in the video for this. So he's like, they're playing off of the whole Apple investment. I forget his name, but
okay.
Yeah. So it has him buying a crate of this stack of it he has in his garage. It's like, I'm not missing this Apple related investment. So anyway, there's a whole thing with that they've tied into.
Have you ever had it, Brian?
No, I don't believe I have.
You ever have Bapple?
No.
I haven't either. So to answer your question, once again, man, with the hype that it generated last time, I'd try it. It doesn't sound like something I would enjoy, but I would try it.
I kind of feel obligated to now because we've talked about it on the show twice. I'm like, I've got to at least know what it tastes like. And maybe I'll just buy an extra case just to sell it for $60 to the crazed fans later on, right?
They're using the McRib marketing plan there, man. So,
there you go.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be buying myself at least a 12-pack of this just to try it.
We need you to make a cocktail with it.
I'm talking about like trying to find like a bottle or find a single, or maybe if I have to, a 6-pack. Nate's like, I'll have to try. I have to get at least a keg.
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
I have to get some.
Whatever. Hey, roll tide.
If I'm going to try it, I'm going to try. Nothing but to do it.
He's going to get a beer bong for it and everything. Yeah, he's just going to go wild with it.
Hey, bring me back to the college days.
Bapple theme party there. Bapple day at Nate's house there. Have a good time with it.
This would be great.
Well, y'all, that is our show for this week. Thanks so much once again for hanging out with us. If you enjoy what we do here, we would love for you to tell a friend to give us a listen. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, tell them to subscribe. Threaten them if you have to. We're fine with that. No problem at all. If you really enjoy us, go to patreon.com/beerguys. We'd love your support there. We'll get you in our Patreon or we'll get you in our Discord server. We'll send you some cool swag. We'll invite you to hang with us and have some beers and run our mouths at the after party after the show each week. With that said, we hope that you all have a really good week. And don't forget to drink local. Cheers.